Good evening.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Yeah, do we have the same colors on tonight, gray and black?
Yes.
Yeah. And is that an L bean top you have on there, Elizabeth? Yeah, I have the same top. I had that on yesterday.
I don't know, lately I've just wanted to be warm.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Wearing
know.
extra
Yes.
clothes. Every time the season changes, I have that problem.
I actually had to switch to a less heavy out top because this room I'm in is really warm. Hi, Brad. Is it recording yet, or does it wait till we actually?
It's recording.
Okay. Kate said she'd share for me. I'm better, but I had a headache for 2 days, so
Oh, I'm sorry.
Did you
yeah.
have a cold or something?
I don't know. It's not a usual migraine, so that's what I wasn't
Oh,
sure. I don't know.
yeah.
Headaches are the worst.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're pretty bad.
nothing was working. Finally did though, finally broke.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
My camera has not been working all day
Hmm.
since a Windows update this morning. Rebooting it did not yet fix it. So, um, sorry about that, but that's kind of where I'm at. I'm going to, I think, be sharing tonight. Is there anyone who's able to take notes for us since Mel is not able to be here?
I can take notes. I just don't know how I can do that while I'm online. I can take them on paper. I'm not very computer savvy, I guess. Let's see here. Is there a way to like do a split screen or something?
Yeah, you can usually, if you click the little square, I don't know, what operating system are you using?
I have a Mac.
Oh, never mind then.
Not helpful, huh?
I mean,
Alright.
you can still be on the camera while you're typing. It's just you won't see us. We can see you. So,
Oh, okay. So hold on here. Let me get all this other junk off my computer. And I will do it. I can do it in Google. Let's see here. Sorry, take me a minute here. New tab. Okay.
Are you feeling ready, Pam?
Yes, now I have a document up, so.
Okay. Please feel free to ask for people to slow down or to repeat things or whatever you need to help you do this since you're kind of coming in and bailing us out without any prep for it. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Pam. Hi, everybody. We will bring our, what month are we in? October meeting of the library trustees to order. And we are going to forego our usual approval of our September minutes because our secretary is unable to be here today. So, if it's okay, I would like to ask a clarifying question on our agenda, Marianne. Is the EV charger a matter of like immediate, like a grant deadline or something, just so I know how to time the agenda out?
Yeah, I don't know that it's a grant deadline, but I have a meeting on Thursday with the town administrator and the highway superintendent and uh,
Okay,
a select board member.
so
So,
it would be good to have discussed this with this
yes,
body before you go. Okay, I just
yes,
wanted to be clear on
okay,
that.
yes.
Okay, thank you. So then I'm gonna propose that we start the meeting with some policy work related to our new library. We have the meeting room policy, which um, a lot of progress. People have been doing a lot of work on, and I think maybe pretty close to final.
Kate,
So yeah, I beg your pardon, Brad.
um, we had received August meetings. I'm not sure they got approved in September.
Being
Should we put them both off till November when Mel is here?
Would it be okay with everyone? Is there any objection? Let's do it this way.
I
Is
have
there any
no objection.
objection to,
Yeah.
yeah, I appreciate the process. I, Brad, very much. If there's no objection, let's just review minutes for August and September in our November meeting. Presumably we'll have 3 sets of minutes to
Yeah.
approve.
Yeah.
So just noting that for our agenda. Okay, no objection. Um, so then I wanted to, if I might just open the floor for any questions. Does everyone who needs to have access, and is everyone looking at the proposed meeting room policy? I just want to make sure that I'm starting in the right place. Is there any discussion that we need? Like, kind of would appreciate some guidance of where we should start here this evening.
Should I
Thanks.
share it?
That's what I was gonna ask, yeah, because I don't have it pulled up.
All right.
Thank you.
And let's see, I had it pulled up before.
I can share it, Marianne, if
And
you
you,
have.
okay, all
Yeah,
right. 'Cause
I've got it open.
all right,
She said
okay,
confidently.
okay,
Oh, I'm
yeah,
requesting to share.
okay. Um,
Let's see.
There it is. I don't know why it didn't come up, but okay.
Can you all see my screen with
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
okay.
And let me just get us to the top of the dock here. Because it's long. Okay. I'm not quite sure what we most need to do with our time together on this.
So there are a couple of places where I highlighted things in yellow because I had questions. And so we could, so here's one. And so this is something that I think must have come from um, some of the other library policies, um, where they list the meeting room, anything that's happening in the meeting room on a library's public events calendar, but that it's up to the outside organizations to promote their own um, meetings. And then I was thinking about um, so an online calendar, and I experimented with listing events on, in a calendar format in the past, and it was pretty time consuming. And so I surveyed the Franklin County Library directors to ask if they did this, and got mixed results. Some just keep a paper calendar to keep track of. I mean, I would keep an online calendar to keep track of what's happening in the meeting room. And I guess if I'm keeping a calendar to keep track of what's happening in the meeting room, there is no reason why that calendar couldn't be a link a public link on the website. So, so it's good. I just needed to think out loud and have people talk this through with me. Um, so, so I think that I've convinced myself that it's worthwhile to keep an online calendar and that it wouldn't be a burden to have it. And so it would just be this is what's happening in the meeting room calendar. And that way people could look at it and they could say, I'd like to have a program there on Thursday, November 26th at 2 p.m. Let me see if it's available. And they could look and then it would be, but then I was thinking about public record. That was the other part of it. So are we then required to store the records? If you're calling it a public record, are we required to save the record? And I don't think we are. So maybe we don't want to use the words public record. Just as if there's another way to phrase that.
So if you don't want it to be a matter of public record, I'm assuming that is in fact up to us. I
Right.
don't know whether there's anything, like, there's nothing about public meeting law that would require us as a body to do that. Then it could just read like that, reservations for library meeting rooms may appear, and then you've got all the room in the world to do whatever you want.
Okay.
That may covers
Okay.
you.
Okay. And so that way, if it's say I'm on vacation and whoever is covering for me doesn't record something on the calendar, it's, because we have to remember that we've got a very small staff and so things have to be manageable. So that works for me if it works for all of you.
Any objection? I think I'm just gonna go by the without objection format, if that's okay with folks. And before we go into the next thing, can I just make sure, is there any objection to working in this way, that we're going, that the body as a whole has enough familiarity with the document, we've thought about it enough as a body, that really what we can do now is go through and address specific questions? Is there any objection to that method of proceeding?
No, I think it makes sense. Did everybody have a chance to look at it?
Yes.
I
But
love the way it's formatted. It looks good.
So, Kate, are you just saying that we'll delete that first sentence? Reservations for library meeting rooms may appear on the library's public
Yeah.
events calendar?
No,
Yeah.
we won't delete that. We'll have it as it stands. We'll delete the bit about the public record. Okay.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And so it's sort of stat at this point, I think. Okay. I'm trying to get rid of the formatting, but
It's
someone else will
okay.
have to deal
I
with
can
that
do that
later.
later. Yeah.
Okay. So so that means going all the way down to number 6, where I think we have sort of the larger issue that appears here and elsewhere around room rental fee and cleaning deposit. And that seems to be something that we need to decide, right?
Right.
The fee structure and the required cleaning deposit, and those seem to me, if I may, Chair's prerogative, two different things. Like you could waive the fee, for example, if you decided, Marianne, but everybody's got to pay the cleaning deposit, right?
Well, so if you read all the way through this, there's only cleaning deposits required for certain types of events.
Okay,
So like if the select board's using the room for a meeting, they
yeah,
wouldn't need to pay a cleaning deposit. But if
thank you.
I don't know, polka dance club is using the meeting room, they should pay a cleaning deposit, I would think.
Okay, thank you for clearing that up.
Okay.
So did you have a question about this is the highlighted text in number 6, the library reserves the right?
Um, so Michelle highlighted that, and I think it was just because I didn't include a fee schedule. And so I think Michelle just highlighted those things.
Yeah, just that
Yeah.
yeah, I agree
Right.
with what you're saying. I think we just need to look at that, which is why I went back and adjusted the agenda, and because I went and found some fee schedules from other libraries that thought we could talk about.
Oh, I'm sorry, Michelle, I missed that when I agreed to pick it up.
I'm sorry, I
So
don't mean to interrupt. I cannot get maybe I should start a new document. Something happened and I go to type in this Google Doc and it won't let me go back and correct anything. I can't get my cursor to do anything. I have no idea.
Weird.
I've never had this happen.
That's weird, huh?
I'm going to see. Nothing is happening here. I'm going to file. It's not doing anything. It's like it's frozen or something.
Hmm.
Docs home. I can't.
Do you want to just take some notes by hand? And I usually take some notes by hand, and we could, if you put it throw it on a Google Doc between the two of us, we could probably make it work, after the fact.
I will
I
do my
think
best.
that might be fine for tonight, since mostly what we're doing is policy work in documents,
Yeah,
where the decision's gonna be like, we pass the document as amended or something like that, Michelle. So
Yeah,
actually minutes might not be as arduous as
yeah,
usual.
that's what I'm thinking too, which is why if she takes some and I take some, we can put them together.
That
and
sounds
it's probably
great,
fine.
thanks.
I'm so sorry.
So
That's okay.
then we are probably gonna have this fee question come up a few times. Should we just take that separately and walk the rest of the way through this
Yeah.
document
Yeah.
for anything
Yeah.
else?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna, if I may, skip over the next highlighted thing
Yeah.
and go to,
Parking.
yeah, before we get there, I had a question. Um, Alcoholic beverages are prohibited here and we prohibit smoking and vaping elsewhere. We do not have a policy about weed or marijuana use. And I'm wondering, given its legality, whether we need one.
Oh, that's a good point.
I mean, yeah, I hadn't even thought about that, but
I didn't either, but it's a good point.
yeah.
Well, okay, so in the next, under behavior and conduct, and again, this is something that came from other libraries' policies. It says all attendees must comply with the library's patron conduct policy, which we don't have one. That's why I have
I
that.
was gonna
highlighted.
ask you.
And but we could make one, and we could put something in there about
But number 7 is smoking and vaping.
Oh, that's true.
Oh,
It
look at
is,
that.
but
but
is vaping, so I don't know the answer to this question, that's why I'm asking it. I thought vaping could be just regular tobacco.
Yeah, it is.
it can be liquid or tobacco, or it can be, anything that you could smoke, you can vape.
Okay,
So
right,
it sort of dodges the question. And I think maybe the question of whether, I mean, there is still medical marijuana in the state too, right? So we can't,
right,
I don't think, prohibit it entirely. Maybe we just punt that to the patron's conduct policy.
right,
And it really is just, instead of focusing on the particular drug, we just say alcohol's prohibited. And then, we just talk about behavior.
right,
Apart from smoking and
Makes
drinking,
sense.
we just
Right.
talk about behavior.
Makes sense.
right,
But we might want to say alcoholic beverages are prohibited in the library and on the library grounds, like we do for vaping and smoking.
And would we include marijuana as smoking?
Yeah, that's what we were just talking about, but should it just be in the patron conduct or should it be there?
I think if you say smoking and vaping, that's sort of implied, right?
I think so.
Yeah, it's everything, but
Yeah.
edibles are still not really dealt with, so you kind of haven't dealt with the full, which is why I'm saying, just like, I'm sorry to raise it, but if we think we might need it later, then we should think about it now. And it might just be that we decide that, it goes under the umbrella patron conduct policy.
I wonder if it would be easier to say smoking of,
Tobacco or marijuana products.
yeah, are prohibited. Because I think that's our intention. And if that's that easy, then I would say put it in here.
Yeah, that's true. Of tobacco or.
Yeah, it's always good to specify.
You know what I noticed when I'm looking at a lot of these, how repetitive the policies were? They really
Right.
want to make
Yeah.
sure that people got it. So the things were said more than
Right.
once often.
Right.
Or
Or drugs. You could say drugs. Drugs, smoking or vaping. Because then that includes all types of drug use.
Mm-hmm.
Like that.
use of,
Smoking,
Yeah.
vaping.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes, that's very clear.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's all fine as long as, Marianne, you don't want some sort of harm reduction policy.
Hang on a second, smoking, vaping. Okay. No, that's fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Um,
Okay, so then
right.
should we go? I'm sorry to have like launched that
That's okay.
issue.
It's
Should we go back
good.
to parking then?
So parking, I think we're not quite ready to finalize the parking
Okay.
paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
So so I won't really know how many cars we can park along the driveway until it's actually built.
Yeah.
Which we're getting close. And then on Thursday, we're also talking about overflow parking at the highway department. So, and we're going to have to come up with parameters around how and when that can happen. So I don't really think that we can say yet that, you know, like I think we're going to be able to direct people to park at the highway department during certain times.
given the lack of
But
specifics, can we simply say library parking is limited, period, and then update it later?
we can, yes,
That's a good point. Yeah,
yeah,
once you know what it is, you could just
right,
add it and then we could talk about it. Like if you know by next
right,
week, we could just vote on it then.
yeah,
I think that's
yeah,
right. And in any case, you could just say, which is going to be true no matter what, library parking is limited to designated spaces.
right,
That's good.
yeah. I like that,
And along the driveway, yeah.
Well,
yeah,
I think that includes
That
designated
includes
space.
the driveway, right? Whether they're
Yeah.
stall or parallel.
right,
And then we can get rid of this. Right? And then we can just say,
TBA for the thing below.
yeah. But this could be
Yeah, unhighlighted. Yeah.
So Michelle, did you write this policy?
I wrote a bunch of it, yeah. And then Kate did some clean, editing and then Marianne cleaned it up and so it was a collaboration.
okay. How do we feel about that for parking?
I think that's good for now. I
Yeah,
mean, in the absence of, it would be good to have hard numbers, but we don't know hard numbers. So I
Yeah.
think this covers it.
we can just amend it once we
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, that's not a big deal.
Yeah,
But so just a note that we are then assigning ourselves the significant work, I think a really important work of a patron conduct policy, which we should have,
right.
right?
Yeah, I talked about that months ago, but I haven't done anything about looking at one. I saw one, which is what gave me the idea because I had never thought about that before, but it could be very helpful in some situations, right?
Absolutely. So, um, room use fee schedule. Um,
So it seemed like when I looked at this, Marianne, that the only thing we really probably have to deal with is the local business, right? Because it makes sense that you're not going to charge for town-sponsored nonprofit
Right.
community groups.
Right.
So private, local business. That's why I ended up adding all the links for us to take a look at the other library policies because they all
Mhm.
have fees for those things.
Right.
Anyway,
Yeah. Yes. And I had, like I thought, so for the private social function,
Mhm.
so first of all, private social functions are not private social functions and charging fees, and having money are sort of outside of well, they're not as common as letting a nonprofit use the room or letting
Mhm.
other town departments use the room.
Mhm.
But I think we have such limited resources in town, and we should try and make our library accessible in different ways. So first of all, and I couldn't remember if we talked about private social functions at the last meeting.
Yeah,
Um,
we
A
did.
little
We did.
bit.
we did.
okay. Um, and then I think that there should be I think it could be $100 it should be whatever the athletic club charges, so that we're not undercutting the athletic club. And I think the club charges $100. Um, and then we should have, decide what a reasonable refundable cleaning fee is. And maybe that's $100 too.
So can I just throw out if the other places charge?
Yeah,
I understand your point about the AC. So the Forbes charges $40 for private parties. Sunderland says they're not even allowed.
Having them. Yeah.
right.
I'm trying to remember what Leverett does. Theirs is so small, it's hard to read. They have a fee for admission with when the event with an admission fee, they have a charge for that of $50. I don't see that they have a private.
And they
social
may
event.
not, but you
Yeah.
can rent the Leverett Town Hall for private events.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that, um, I don't know if you can rent the Shutesbury Town Hall. That wasn't
Yeah.
an option in the past. So,
Well, if you think we don't want to undercut the AC, then I would say go with your suggestion and charging the same amount.
okay.
Otherwise no one will go there anymore and they'll just come to us.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's the thing, I think, you're not going to be able to have alcohol if you use the library, but I think there are people who might think that using the library meeting room for a kid's birthday party for $100 is a bargain.
Yeah.
And we can see how it goes. And if it's too onerous or things get damaged but I don't think it's going to be happening every weekend, and this is something that could only happen if the library was closed. That couldn't be happening while the library is open, so it's not going to be all
Right.
that frequent.
Can I ask you a question about this, Marianne?
Yeah,
Is there no chance you'd want to wait on this and just see how it feels to be in the building before you do this? Right now you're doing it in advance. Like you could go either way, but there's two
right,
ways to go. One would be to
right.
go into the building, shake it out, see how it feels to manage this space on top of everything else, right? Because you
Mhm.
haven't really had to do that before.
Right.
And then start introducing additional uses.
Uh-huh. Yep. Yeah.
Or you could try to do it on the front end. My inclination, honestly, might, but I'd really love Brad's take as someone who has managed public spaces like this before. Sorry to put you squarely on the spot, Brad, but you've got a lot of expertise here. What do you think and what do others think?
I feel like I sort of lean towards in the short term, not allowing private school functions, getting up and running, just what you were saying. Get up and running, figuring out what the space is, and then later saying, okay, now we're ready.
Mhm.
And not to try to say we don't want them, period, but just we're not ready. It's too brand new for us. I mean, you could have other use and cut out the private school function um, for now, and other use would be in that, and you would be dealing with that on a case by case basis, but mostly saying no. um, I find I don't know. This is a very personal answer for me because in my business life, I find I try to make rules for every instance, and I tie myself in knots. And so lately, I've gone the other direction.
Right,
Um,
right.
I think Kate and Brad have a really good point. Maybe we just wait and see how the requests come, and then, and you get all settled in the building and see how this calendar thing is going to even work. And then you can, if somebody asks, you can say, well, I have to run it by the trustees, and then we can figure it out. And by then you'll know how hopefully, hopefully it won't be too early, but how you're feeling about it all.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be worried about undercutting the AC. Um, I I think they're different enough spaces that I don't think we want to be in the business of running it out lots and lots and lots. We want the space used, and the town sponsored nonprofit community groups, the free things probably are more what we're looking for
Mhm. Yeah.
than um, things that we would want to charge for.
When I was looking at all of when I was working on this and I was looking at what all the other libraries offer, this hadn't even occurred to me until I saw it somewhere where they said, oh, it's not allowed. I'm like, oh. But I totally get your point too, Marianne. There really aren't a lot of choices here. You have to go into Amherst or Hadley usually, or have it at your home. I mean, we didn't have errands here except when she was little. It seemed like we were always going somewhere else because there weren't a lot of places.
At the meeting house in New Salem, we final concert 2 years ago. It was so cold, it wasn't going to survive in our unheated space. So we went across the street to the New Salem Public Library, and that was a last minute thing that they agreed to. But then we talked about doing more, and the librarian there at that time said, no, they don't really want to have outside paid events, but we might do something in conjunction with them.
Mhm. Hmm.
And I worked on that for a while, and then, like most of my life, I got overwhelmed and I didn't finish. But it was an interesting concept. I would have done that with them, with the meeting house across the street. Um, what it would have meant on my standpoint would be we would not charge admission. It would be a donation. And as an event organizer, I see nothing wrong with events that are simply donation. I've done those, and sometimes they make more than I would have if I charged admission fees.
So let me just tell you what Northampton has. So for business meetings, they charge for their community room $50. Events with an admission fee sponsored by a civic group or individuals is 25. Um, let's see, private parties 40. Um, and well, those are after hour events, which is what we would do anyway. And it sounds like their room is the same size too. It holds 50 people.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Oh, well, first of all, does anyone else have any other thought? I mean, Marianne, I'm posing this in part just because, it seems like a lot of work to manage, but you're the best judge of your workload and your staff's workload. And like, is this something that you have your heart on being able to offer when the building's open? Do you know what I mean? Like your heart's set on that capacious feeling? Do you know what I mean? Or is this something that might support you better if we just said not yet? What's your sense?
I think there's a need,
Okay.
and I would like to meet that need in a limited basis. And I think because because this is something that really couldn't happen while the library was open, that it would be a limited capacity kind of thing.
Mm.
Um, and, um, and so that's, and this goes back, this idea came from a conversation with another local library director, many years ago when they were trying to figure out how the community could use their new library. And this was a need that came up in their community. So,
Okay. Well, if it's not helpful to you and it's just, what part of the community need that you've identified and want to meet, then I permission to retract my former remarks. We just leave it as it is.
mhm. And I think that I think $100 is a reasonable rental fee.
Yeah, I
Um,
do too.
yeah.
So then the only other thing we might do is consider, I think the only other fee that we would need to set at this point would be this one. If someone's teaching, is there like, do you want that to be a flat fee? It'd be simplest if it were.
Yes. And I guess, so for that, I wonder if, so in some of my thinking in the parts of this policy that I did was in response to questions that I've gotten from the community. So someone from the community, approached me about doing, what kind of in my mind felt like, um, all day workshops. And so I wonder if there couldn't be like an hourly fee. Um, because if somebody uses the room for 2 hours, that might be $50, but if it's a whole day, how much is it? So maybe there could be an hourly fee. So, or like most people aren't going to use a room for just 1 hour. Um,
Hmm.
so it could be, so Northampton charges 50 for businesses, Michelle, and do they
Yeah.
have a time period?
It doesn't say that, but it says for after-hour events, 3-hour minimum, including required half-hour setup and cleanup.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't say for business, it doesn't say, it just says $50.
But I think in
Okay.
Northampton, there's a maximum amount of time you can borrow the room for. I think I remember that.
Yeah, well, they're talking about 3-hour minimum, because
That
Right.
But I,
minimum is different than the maximum.
yeah,
yeah,
I think
it doesn't say, so.
I
Right.
think it
What
says it.
about for up to 2 hours, here's the fee. And beyond that, it's some dollars an hour.
I
Yeah,
like
oh,
that.
it's $50 an hour actually for the 3-hour minimum, including required setup and cleanup.
Okay, so it's $50 an hour.
Yeah, it's a
for the
different
3-hour
category. It's under a
minimum.
different
Got it.
category than the business
Yes.
meetings and promotions. That
Yes.
just says
Okay.
50, so.
So it's 150 for a minimum rental
Yes. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah,
and then $50 an hour thereafter.
Yes. Okay. Um, so, so I think we could charge less than that for a business. And, um, uh, maybe it could be, oh, it's so hard to know, like how much are people going to charge people to come and take part of their business? But if there's staff time involved, there's heat and lighting involved, there's wear and tear on the building involved, so there's, so, so, so does 25 an hour sound too low?
Let me
Uh,
ask you a question, Marianne.
yes.
How much do you think, on average, if you're teaching a course like this, how much do you think people are likely to charge for the course itself?
Well, so that's the thing. So I've noticed like in the Mill District, they have offered they've been offering some art classes, and they charge like $50 a person to go for a 2-hour class.
Mhm.
If they have 10 people, that's $500, right? So if we charged $50, that's 10%. Well, if we charge $50 an hour, and it was say 2 hours, that's $100. Um, so it's really hard to know. So to be, I don't want our fee structure to create a barrier for people who might, because like in Northampton, if somebody's doing something, so if somebody's teaching a class and they're charging $50 a person, they might get 20 people,
Mhm.
right? So in Shutesbury, I don't think people are gonna get 20 people for a,
I'm
I don't get 20,
scribbling a
yeah, right.
proposal
I don't
just to,
get 20 people for free classes,
Yeah,
right?
right.
So, and again, I want it to be, and so maybe, okay, so what could it be, 25 an hour? And and then for Shutesbury residents, and then 35 an hour for people not from Shutesbury?
Yeah.
yeah. I think the one thing you want to do is, you do want, like, if you're gonna make it, you want a maximum. Actually, some places have a minimum, which, like, how much is it worth someone's time to go over and open the building?
Right.
Right, because you don't want to just have to like do that all the time without it being worthwhile, right? So you
But I'm
want
also
to,
gonna give people keys to the building.
okay, but you still
So,
got to arrange that, like someone's
right.
still got to do that work.
Yes,
So,
yes, yeah,
Yeah,
so,
so that's probably why Northampton has a 3-hour minimum because for after hour things.
well, they
yes,
probably have a janitor on site.
Yeah,
Or
they
a
might.
staff person
exactly.
on site,
They might,
yes,
yeah.
right. Um,
But my question is like, do you want to say, and that's up to, up to 4 hour total, and then that includes cleanup?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, make that clear. Yes, I think.
I liked the phrase that was in something one of you read, time including setup and cleanup. That
Yes,
when I
it's
rent
Northampton, yeah.
spaces,
right,
that's always a question.
Yeah,
And
Yeah,
half the
including
places I rent
required
from,
half
they don't
hour.
have an answer.
It says Northampton says including required half-hour setup and cleanup.
I mean,
each,
specifics, if I was doing a small little workshop, it might be 15 minutes on either side, easily.
right.
right,
I rent the Grange in Greenfield, and run a dance. Well, we take a lot of time for setup and then clean up 15 minutes and we're out of there. Just,
Yeah.
But I think it's better to say half-hour just to make sure it's really clean.
Mhm.
And they may not have anybody, they may be a solo person doing it themselves, they may not have a crew of people to help.
So are you saying that people should build in at least 1 hour, half hour pre and half hour post for setup a
yes,
cleanup? Is that what we're
yeah,
actually saying? Because that's not what we're saying right now.
right,
Yes, I think so. Because there's nothing worse than walking in and the person's still setting up.
right,
I think that's their responsibility, not ours.
Yeah, I
Policy.
know, but
I, what you're doing by saying you have to pay for a half an hour ahead and a half an hour afterwards
right,
is you're eliminating the small events for which that would be more than they can manage. Which is okay. I mean, it's a choice. I think a half an hour on either side is fine for groups of 50. For a group of 10, it seems like over overkill.
Yeah.
But at $25 an hour, maybe that's fine too. We're saying you're paying for $25 just for the setup and cleanup time. Okay, that seems reasonable.
Yeah. I think so.
Okay. So are we good kind of where this is?
Yes, I mean, so it needs to be 25 an hour for residents. Oh, never mind. Okay. Well, so it says 25 hour and then it says 4. And then there's some little thing in there that I can't quite see what it is.
This,
It's
Yeah, okay,
that's like a board, that's a formatting weirdness.
okay. So just 25 an hour and then, oh, 4 residents, there it is, okay. I just, okay, that formatting form is, okay, now I see it. And then are we putting,
I think it might be clearer to just say all users must pay for 1/2 hour pre and 1/2 hour post event for
Yeah.
setup and cleanup.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
That's
okay,
just the deal.
right.
Yeah.
And that's reasonable because then, so say if there's an event from 10 to 12 Saturday morning, then they'd have to be there at 9:30 and then the room wouldn't be available again really until 1 o'clock. And so you'd have that time period where, if we were using this as a revenue generating thing, you'd want all of your time accounted for. That's not really our goal, but we should also, we should also have, keep that in mind. This should function like a business.
So the other thing well, before we leave this topic, Northampton you can pay online using PayPal. They have something set up or the check, you know. So I mean, we have to think about that part too. How are people paying? What's going to work for
Right.
you? What works for you?
Right, right. And the library doesn't have, so then where does the money go to? And I think, I think
They have a
that,
library store.
hmm,
They have a library store at Forbes. I don't know what that
right.
looks like,
And
but
so the Forbes is a private foundation. It's
Mhm.
not a municipal library.
Okay.
So they can do things that we can't.
Okay.
And so I think people have to pay cash or a check. Um, and which, requires some planning ahead, but that's, but I think but I think we're a small town and, because even if you wanted to pay for something for the town of Shutesbury, you pay pretty hefty fees if you use a credit card.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
people aren't going to want to do that.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you want cash?
sure. But I think most people aren't going to pay cash. I think
So
most,
you want checks or cash?
yes. Yeah.
As an accountant, I would say avoid cash all you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So then payment is required by check. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay.
Made out to.
The town of Shutesbury with library in the subject line.
This is our new AI system. It just writes for you.
Hey, this is an A. I'm not all that sure at this time it's an I either, but it's definitely not A.
Um, so, and then this money would go into the library's revolving fund and then would be, and so, I mean, we used to have money go into the revolving fund when we collected fines.
Mm-hmm.
But then this would just be probably a pretty small source of revenue that we could use for materials and programming and other, unmet expenses. So, uh,
I feel like the whole policy, including all these things we're talking about, is reasonable as a statement of right now And I think it's great that we're aiming for something reasonable and we can always adjust it later. I had two questions. Do you want to limit the length of time someone can use the space? What if someone said, I want to use it from 9 to midnight? Or I want something that starts at 10 p.m. and goes until
Mhm.
3 a.m.
Yeah.
Are there,
So I think I'm really glad you brought that up. So I think that all use of the library has to be done by 9 p.m. You know, reasonable. There are two neighbors.
Yeah.
They're, so
So
I,
this needs to be put somewhere else because it's actually not fee.
right,
So do
right,
you mind if that's like a meeting room.
yes. That
Okay,
would
well,
really
this is,
good. Okay.
should go up here, right?
Well, that's set up in restoration.
It
There
might
must be
think
something
go with,
further up maybe. Application requirements, it could go there.
let's go further up, I think.
there's eligibility and use. It's sort of a use question.
May not be used for any activity. Can we just put it as a bullet here and just say, meetings must, all,
Well, this is only private social function.
Yeah, we don't want to put it there. Yeah.
okay,
Well,
thank you.
do we want to have any function?
Right, but let's just,
Let's do for, yeah, under eligibility and use.
Like up here,
Yeah, up there.
where we have scheduling priority. And just say, I feel like we have two questions. We have one, the hours that events can happen within,
Mhm.
like all events must take place between what,
9 a.m. and
9 a.m.
9:30
and 9
p.m.?
p.m.?
Yeah, something like that.
And then do we want below do we want to limit, like you know, you can't use the room for more than 4 hours without special permission or something like that? I mean, everything has to be approved, but do we
Yeah.
want to say, we should expect 4 hours or something or less?
You also said for events that they would be when the library is not open, I think. Is that right?
well, some events
Okay.
could only be when the library is not open.
I don't know, Marion, how do you feel about that as far as hours go? What do you think makes sense?
I think that makes sense. I think, I think it's reasonable that things could happen between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m., but certainly not earlier than that and not.
No, I meant like the length of time. Do you want to limit it to
Oh, I
somebody
don't think we
suggested
need to
4 hours
limit it.
or?
No,
I think
Okay.
maybe
I don't,
like
yeah.
events that are longer than 4 hours need, special permission in the application or something like that, but that like it can be on a case by case basis.
Or we
But I
just
don't think we need
say,
to dissuade people from doing it.
yeah, is the duration of the event something that we're asking for? I guess is the question.
I think so. So what's your feeling about that, Marianne? You had mentioned what if somebody wanted to use it for the whole day?
Well, I mean, the library once offered an all-day workshop.
Mhm.
So what if somebody, but I guess that could come under, um, uh, special, um, requests, because we do have a special request, thing, but I don't think that's gonna be a common request to use it for more than, a half a day.
So,
I
Um,
just,
so do we not to do we need to not even address that? And then if
That's
somebody
the
puts
way I
in for
feel.
it,
I feel like that's overkill.
yeah, I'll let Marianne decide.
I did just put this in
yeah,
under,
yes,
because we didn't have anything about that.
Yeah.
Without objection, Marianne?
yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I agree with Brad for what it's worth that we've done a really good job doing our best to sort of estimate a policy that we should expect to revisit once we've tried it and shake the room out a little bit and stuff like that.
Yep.
I had one other question.
Yeah,
I don't remember seeing anything about this. So you do talk about things having to be approved, and maybe there's something that talks about preference being given to town events, to
there
libraries.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's,
it
it's
was,
there.
yeah,
Yeah,
there is
it's
something.
in there.
So I rent the Orange Town Hall twice a year, and one of the things in renting the Orange Town Hall is if there's ever town meeting, we're out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a little hard to take as a renter, but I understand the point. And oh, and I'm also renting, I reserve it a year in advance. Um, and in both cases, I think the library needs to be careful with that, not to take people like me who are used to running all sorts of things and grabbing spaces and keeping space for things that you don't know of yet that might be higher priority. I don't know how to manage that, but
So
just throw that out as a concern.
I have an answer to that. I think that it said something about that you can only book 3 months in advance.
Yeah,
Because Marianne doesn't book all of her programs,
Yeah,
that far in
that's
advance. So
exactly
yeah,
what
we
I
don't want
mean.
her to lose all her space, her own space.
Right.
So
Okay,
yeah,
right.
so that's covered. Thank you.
yeah, it is.
And just also noting that it's right up there in the purpose and priorities that library programs have priority. So just so Brad, just because you asked about that,
Yeah,
do you see 2.1 up here? Okay.
thank you.
Wow. Um, anything else on this? Do we feel like we're ready to pass this?
Can you just
I mean,
scroll down to the bottom one more time so we can make sure we got everything down there? I think we
yeah.
did.
So we did take care of the fee-based
Yeah.
thing.
So
So
let's look at the fee again. There was a question I didn't get around to asking
sorry
down
about that.
said fees.
We didn't set a refundable deposit.
Oh yeah, you're right. We didn't. What's a reasonable, like how much it costs to have a custodian come clean if somebody leaves it a mess?
I think the SAC refundable deposit is $100.
Mm-hmm.
So we did for the private social
Here it is.
function.
What did you just ask, Kate? Could you say that again?
For the private social function, we have up like $100 for the deposit slash cleaning fee. See that
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
right
so I
here?
think we should use
Yeah.
that same one under local business.
Yes, that makes sense.
And for the private social function, is that $100 an hour?
It's just $100 fee.
It's a flat fee for
It's a
cleaning.
flat
Just
cleaning
for-
fee.
Yeah.
And
No,
then
no,
it's
no, no,
refundable.
for the rental fee.
Up to, oh, I would say
I
up to 3 hours.
$100 to cover up to 3 hours.
Yeah, which includes a
So-
half hour of setup, and we should put this in there, which includes a half hour of setup and a half hour of cleanup.
Yeah,
So
that
comparing
part
that
was
to
there.
the non-resident fee, if they use it for
It's just
3
really
hours, it's the
similar.
same thing.
That's right.
I don't think that's right. I think if we're going to charge a higher fee, it should also be by the hour. We should use the same measuring stick, or we should say a similar thing up above. X dollars for up to the first 3 hours. I would rather be something an hour all the time, or have it say for the first
Mm,
X hours all the time. I don't like the inconsistency on that.
so
What
you
hourly rate would you want on the expectation that they're going to rent at least 2 hours because there's an hour of setup cleanup?
so $35 an hour with a minimum of 3 hours. Is that what you're saying?
Sure.
Like that, and then you'd like to see the same thing for non-residents above? I'm not writing this because we've agreed, I'm writing it because it's easier
Yeah.
to see a proposal in writing.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Is that your proposal, Brad?
Yeah.
And does anyone object to that being the same? It's like this, but it's 25 and 35 for above. I don't think we have the 3 hour minimum above is the difference. Brad,
That's okay, but you're saying there's at least an hour that you're paying for that is not your event. So
right.
And I thought we were saying a 3-hour maximum, not including cleaning.
I don't think we set a maximum. I think that's what we decided not to do.
Yeah, we didn't say
Oh, for
maximum.
I thought we just talked about it for the private social functions though.
I missed that. I'm sorry if we did.
Or maybe I
A
misheard.
Is there a maximum?
Minimum of 3 hours,
Oh, okay.
it says.
Is it-
I thought Marianne had said she would deal with that.
Okay.
The
What did you say, Marianne? We're all going.
I don't remember saying anything. Okay.
The 3 hour, the minimum of 3 hours came from, I think, Northampton. I threw that out, you know.
Well, I kept it because that gets you to about $100 an hour for a
Yeah.
private social
Yeah,
function, so it
yeah,
seemed good enough.
yeah. And, you know, I think it's fine.
I mean, the one thing that I would say is that if you are only doing, if you're in there all the time as a local person and you're gonna teach 5 people how to play the guitar, it's gonna take you, you know, a maximum of half an hour to set up and tear down. And it's kind of prohibitive to have to do, I don't know, I don't want to nitpick this thing to death either, but it feels like a lot for an hour to have a full hour of, sorry.
Yeah, see, I
So-
wasn't even thinking of
Yeah.
something like a guitar. I was thinking of
Right.
there's actually some mess to clean up. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know it's hard to know what the Forbes thinking was. That's where that came from. I
Yeah.
can go either way on it. And we can also change it.
Well, yeah, why don't we leave it as it is and see how people react? And if people are like, it's not even going to take me that, Marianne, do you mind if I just slip you $10 and you're fine with it? Then like, okay. Like, do you know what I mean?
Right. Right.
It's not like these people aren't going to know you.
Right.
That's true.
Right.
Does that feel good enough?
It could be something like, um, uh, um, s- uh, some users may be required to, um, to pay, for a half hour setup and cleanup time. And so if it is somebody coming in when the library is open to teach guitar to 4 teenagers, you know, that really seems like you come in, you put out 4 chairs, you take out your guitar, that could all take 5 minutes.
Yeah.
How
And there
about-
wouldn't be much cleanup.
how about rather than how about saying for small events, the setup cleaning time may be waived with the approval of the librarian.
That's better. It's better to default
Yeah,
to
and-
waive it rather than default to not have it.
And the reason Forbes had this actually was because it's an after hours event.
The reason that Forbes has it, right?
Yeah, yeah. I just looked back at it and that's why
Yeah.
it's, yeah. We're running out of time. I don't think we're gonna get to anything else unless you want to talk to us about the EV thing or just.
I
Yeah.
think we really need to.
So listen, there's no rush to get this approved. I think we could sit with it, read it over, and
Okay.
approve it at next month's meeting. Okay.
Okay.
We're not going to be opening the library in November. And I would suggest that we don't allow the public to use the meeting room in the first month that we're open.
Right. That's right.
So, okay.
Second.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so the EV thing is that okay with you, Kate, to pivot to that?
Yeah, this is good. Before we do, can I just make sure there was one other thing that we had on the, yeah, I saw that we have a draft art policy, which I think is an inclusion statement. I think we should punt that and we should come back to it at another policy setting agenda. But
Yeah.
right now, what it does not say, I just want to flag, it doesn't say who's making the decision.
Right, and that's just an inclusivity statement, and
Okay.
and it's, yeah, so that, and I just wanted to see if that direction was one that the trustees agreed with before I.
Okay,
So, but we can definitely talk about that again
we'll
next.
punt that too. I
Yeah,
think
okay,
when we do set
right,
that policy, we definitely want to name
yeah,
who's responsible
yes,
for making the
absolutely,
decision.
yes,
Okay.
yes, for sure.
All
Um,
right, so
okay.
Evie, over
Okay,
to
so
you.
EV, so the Energy Committee. So first of all, the Library Building Committee investigated EV charging stations. And so there, we do have conduit going to two regular parking spaces and then to the accessible parking spaces. And the conduit was required by code. Um, we investigated a couple of grant opportunities for EV charging stations, and they required that the spaces be reserved for EV charging for electric vehicles only. And we have very limited parking at the library because we have, because we built it on a somewhat challenging site and because we were limited by budget. So, so we decided that we couldn't have spaces that were limited to EV vehicles only. When you only have 12 parking spaces and 4 of them are now
Right.
restricted, and your 2 accessible spaces are restricted, it didn't make sense. And you had to agree to put up signage and that the building administrator would police it, basically. So the Energy Committee has been talking to a company that will put in EV charging stations for the town, and people will pay to use them. And had the library put them in, people would have paid to use them too. And the town is investigating the best place to put them. And some people think if we're going to have EV charging stations, it makes sense to have them at a building where there's something for people to do at the building. So I don't have an electric vehicle, but I think, or I've heard that most people who have an electric vehicle charge their vehicle at home. So people who live in Shutesbury that have electric vehicles, is it fair to assume that they would have the capacity to charge those vehicles at home? And do we as a town have a responsibility for providing the capacity for electric vehicles? That's another question. But so anyway, one place that the town is considering putting electric vehicle charging is at the library. And I've made it clear that the library building committee's position is that we have limited parking, and the MBLC's position. The MBLC is building a library that the parking is for library users, right? So I've made it clear that that's the library building committee's position, and that we're not opposed to electric vehicle charging stations, but we have limited parking. And so we can't restrict parking spaces to EV charging only. So, but I just thought, since we have this meeting coming up on Thursday, that it would be good for you all to have a conversation about it and give me your guidance.
Well, can I ask a question of the
Yeah.
body? How many of us have EVs? Apart from me, anybody?
No.
Okay. Well, unsurprisingly, perhaps I have opinions. May I share them?
Yes.
Um, I think that you're right, that given the zoning requirements in Shutesbury, most people can trickle charge their own EVs at home. You don't get one if you can't do that, because if you can't, they're not usable by you, okay? The one time that I think people in town would benefit from, who own EVs, from a rapid charger is when you have long trips back to back and you don't have time on a slow charger to recharge your battery. Okay, because getting a level 2 charger in your house is expensive. Okay, so that's kind of the exception. So in my mind, that's I would want the energy committee to demonstrate that there's enough town-based need for that contingency to you make it worthwhile to burn 1 or 2 whole spaces in the library parking lot, assuming that that's what's required. Um, and then I would ask, is there any flexibility such that you wouldn't require like EV parking only, except for hours when the library was closed? In other words, anybody could use the space while the library was open. It's EV charging when the library is closed. And that gives you the ability to go up and, grab some electrons in a hurry if that's what you need. So the library is providing that service. But the downside obviously is then you have people and you don't have any control over whom is using your parking lot when the library is not open. So all in all, when I think this through, even as an EV owner and, proponent of EVs, I don't think it's a great idea. I don't think the library has enough capacity to be a good spot for this. It bums me out. I wish that I didn't have to say that, but it is in fact what I think.
I
And
agree with that. I feel like I like to think of the question as where, if the town wants to have public EV charging, where is the best place for it? And for me, in my roles with the library, I feel like the library is not, because the library is for library. The library parking lot is for the library, and it's too small. I think that's our starting point. We had limited space we could do things with, and we're doing an amazing job with the space we have, and that means there's just not a lot of parking. And if the town feels so strongly that it wants to have some parking, we'll put it in the highway department. Uh,
Or,
my,
Right.
or the town
or the
hall.
town hall.
Yeah,
My sister has an EV and she goes looking for chargers, but where are they? They're in massive parking lots. They're in the biggest parking lot, they're because that's the place these businesses can afford to give up spaces.
right. Like
And
Stop and Shop,
and I
yeah.
don't think that's us. I don't think that's the
I
life.
agree.
right.
I agree.
And like, so these EV charging stations for people who don't live in Shutesbury would be people traveling through Shutesbury en route, right? And is Shutesbury the most likely place that
No.
people are going to stop? And like right now, no. Maybe later we're all going to have electric vehicles. And but and the company that they're investigating the grants from, so they've assured me that they wouldn't require that the spaces be EV only, because I've made it very clear that we can't do that. When you have 12 parking spaces, you can't do that. And but but they so but
They really have limited utility to EV users if they're not dedicated. I gotta tell you, like, what's the
right,
point? Unless
right,
someone's using it and plugged in, you're not gonna know whether you can use the space or not.
right,
Right? The way the
right,
whole charging infrastructure works is that you can look on an app and see if someone's plugged in there or not. If they're not
right.
plugged in, how are you gonna know whether it's available?
Right,
It
right.
doesn't
And so
make
then
sense.
somebody could arrive and
Yeah,
not have access to it. And
right.
then they're going to come into the library and And,
Yeah,
and you know, it could be me and I could deal with it and maybe it would be a challenging interaction, but it would just be me. And, but it could be a challenging interaction for a person who works 16 hours, works 6 hours a week, right? And so I think I think there are other places where it could go, and the company that puts these in would put in the infrastructure, so there's no cost to the town to put in the infrastructure for an EV charging station at town hall or at the current library. Um, and since, you know, since we probably don't know what the future uses of the current library, that might not make the most sense. But I think town hall could make sense, and I think it could present a potential burden to the library. So,
Right,
yeah,
right now I have a gas car. What do I do when I run out of gas? Do I go somewhere in Shutesbury to fill up? New Salem, Leverett, Pelham? No, you know, I go to town, and I think the same would be true with EVs. Kate, are there EV charging stations in the big box stores in Hadley, or some of those big gas stations? I would think some of those would have places.
yeah, I mean, there is some EV charging infrastructure in the yeah, in like the Stop and Shop Plaza is one
Home
place.
Depot, those kind of
Because
places.
yeah, no, there's hardly any, but that's a
Hardly any.
separate question.
Mhm.
To my mind, the only question that I have actually is not about a rapid DC charger at all, but whether, and this is again longer term, whether given that this is the way people are going, whether we might want to keep our minds open about level two chargers at the library at some point. Okay, I don't think that DC fast chargers there make sense, and I don't see them making sense for a while, to be honest. But I think that everybody ought to be able to charge their car at work. I think just like you ought to be able to wash your hands and you ought to be able to use the bathroom, you ought to be able to charge your car at work. That's the infrastructure we should be providing employees. So, but this is down the road. Anyway, I agree with you. I don't hear, can I just pause the convo since it is kind of late and just see, does anyone object to the trustees' consideration that dearly as we would love to be able to offer even non-dedicated space, we don't think it makes the best sense for the limited space that we have for the new library.
Yeah.
Any
Yes.
objection?
No,
Hearing none, I think that's our support for you position, Marianne.
thank you. And it's not the position I want to have, but
Nope.
right, but we're sort of, we have, again, we have limited resources, so,
Yeah.
okay, good,
Okay.
all right, thank
So
you.
we do need to set a time for, I'm cognizant that Mel's not here, but can we set a time for our next meeting?
calendar out.
So normally would we be on the 3rd?
Yep, so the 17th,
Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to be here. I'm gonna need to miss our November meeting.
I'll be coming back from being away for the weekend, so, I mean, I'll be here by then, but, you know, we're coming from Lake Placid, so I might be tired. Maybe we could look at a different date. Is that possible?
the
Was that
24th.
the 24th for people? You
Does
know,
it matter if we
it's
push the
Thanksgiving
policies?
week.
yeah, it's the same week as Thanksgiving, but
That's fine with me.
That works for me.
okay. How does it work?
Okay.
for you? Does it work for anybody
Um,
else?
Yeah, I will be in Brazil for 2 weeks for the Conference of the Parties for the International Climate Negotiations. And I think I probably will get back on the 23rd and will probably not be particularly useful at a meeting on the 24th. So I'll plan not to be there, just so everybody hears that.
Okay.
Given that we don't know Mel's schedule and that it's Thanksgiving week, we probably do want a quorum check.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, okay. All right,
So
sounds good.
in November, it's likely that we'll talk about the budget. I haven't gotten a budget meeting date from the finance committee yet. Were you all invited to that? So the finance committee and the select board had a meeting last week, and I thought it was just for department heads. And then when I got there, there were a lot of committees, people there. No,
Unless it went to our email, which I never think.
I
it
do
did.
check that regularly. If
Yeah.
something comes in there, I forward it
So you didn't see
Okay.
religiously.
All right, so I'll make sure that town hall knows to include the trustees. I didn't know committees were gonna be there until I got there. But anyway, it was just a meeting about challenging budget times, but I didn't leave feeling like our budget was in jeopardy. Because our budget is such a small portion of the town's operating budget. And then we always have to approve the action plan before December 1st. So I'll have that for the November meeting. And then
Okay.
Brad, I'll
Okay.
talk to you, once I get a date from finance committee, I'll get in touch with you. I have to put working on the budget on my list of things to do. So
Okay.
if it gets on my list, it gets done. So
Okay.
yes. Okay.
Okay, so just noting that we've had to skip for duration, any building committee updates, any turkey trot updates, any opening updates. So we're not updated, but we assume that if there were anything trustees needed to pay immediate attention to, we would have been updated.
Here's one very quick thing. So we're not quite ready yet, but at some point we will need to close the current library and then be closed for
Oh, yeah, the
2 to
transition.
4 weeks. And so I just thought that was something the trustees should be aware of. So
Yeah.
we'll need to be closed for 2 to 4 weeks. Most, the MBLC and the OPM say 4 to 6 weeks. But anyway,
Okay.
it will take us some time to move everything and get set up. And I don't know yet when that will happen, but I'll know. And when I know, I will, if it's not near a meeting time, I'll email you. Okay.
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 Sounds good.
And one last thing, because our next meeting will be after the turkey trot. If you haven't signed up to participate or volunteer, now is the time. And I'll see you there.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thanks so much, everybody. We're
All right.
adjourned.
Thanks, everybody. Lots of good work tonight.
Yeah, definitely. Good night.
Okay. Good
Night.
night.
Oh, I do.